Hello, fellow eLearning developers. This is David Charney here. I wanted to show off a quick project on how to handle a way to visually show the learner how they responded to a number of questions. I've seen projects like this over the years, and we've done similar projects, but in Flash. About 6 years ago, I remember we did a project similar to this. But the news on the street is, and sit down if you haven't heard this, but Flash is dead. So I wanted to show how it can be built in Storyline. Instructionally speaking, we might have a project that allows the learner to make decisions, and those decisions drive the conversation. So we want to change behaviors and build communication skills through providing feedback and allowing them, the learner, to better visualize how their decisions affect, in this case from a leadership standpoint, their employees. So this is a simple way to do that. We've probably all seen this style, where each response is a node or like a point, or in this case, a circle on screen, representing how they responded. Did they have the best response from the choices listed, the worst, somewhere in between? There's not always right or wrong answers in all this stuff, as we all know. And by clicking on these, can you see some sort of feedback? So how is this visual created? Let's jump into Storyline and take a look. Everything takes place on the base layer here, at least for this screen. Actually, each of these 4 response columns correlate with these 4 variables. So if I run this just on this slide and using these variables, which, as you go through these other slides and answer questions, the variable gets adjusted. You'll see that this looks different than what I showed when I had gone through with the questions. So I can go back to the variables and change them again. Let's say 3, 1, 1, 2, and preview again. You'll see an immediate change. Now, no real rocket science on how to get this to work. Just a number of objects on screen, a number of triggers, and just keeping track of everything in your head. So we have 4 columns. Everything starts out hidden, and we show things as needed. So here are circles, and here are lines. If the first variable is a 3, we want this one to be visible here. Let me click on this. Let's see, this is oval 3, and in our triggers, here is oval 3. So if the variable is A1, because each column is A1 or A2, A3, A4, just stands for answer 1, answer 2, and so on. If A1 equals 3 in this case, change the state of oval 3 to normal, so it's visible. So we do that to each column when the timeline starts. The lines are the same way, just a number of triggers, and honestly, it took me about 10 minutes to get all these together, so not too crazy. So from a line perspective, we're supposed to go from 3 to 1. The circle 3 to the circle 1 in the next column. If I click the line and look at the states, I see 1 through 5. For some reason, 3 doesn't show up here. It's definitely there. It's just the horizontal line, as you can see. The thumbnail just doesn't draw it for whatever reason in Storyline. But these are the different lines that are needed for every situation here. But not every circle needs all of these. For instance, the circle here doesn't need states 4 or 5. But I built them all into one object here so that I can just copy and paste them down through all of them instead of having to keep track of all that. So anyway, let me find it here. If A1 is 3 and A2 is 1, let's see. So here it is in the triggers. So let me double click this so we can see the trigger a little bit better. We want to change the state of line 7 from hidden to state 1, which is the first line that goes from here to here. When the timeline starts on the condition, so if A1 equals 3 and A2 equals 1, and that is how all of these work. Nothing complex, just a little time consuming to put it all together, but very much worth it for the learner. And then I just have a number of layers for each of the responses, or the feedback rather, so you can see how the person responded. And maybe I'll show this in a little bit more detail in another video, but it's just kind of keeping track of a number of different things so the individual can really see what choices they had, how they responded, and some feedback on that response. And that's pretty much it. That's how this visual works. So I hope you enjoyed and happy learning.